Week 8 is in the books, so that means it's time to hit those waiver wires to find players that could add value to the back end of your rosters. And quick note, I will be referencing rostership percentages in this video, and those are coming from roster data from 1,700 Dynasty leagues on myfantasyleague.com. Basically a 50-50 split of one quarterback in Superflex, all with a minimum of 20-man rosters. So I'm not pulling these players out of nowhere, but it is possible that some or even all of these guys are already rostered in your leagues, perhaps even by you. But for the most part, there are hundreds of leagues out there where these guys are on waivers. So first and foremost, I want to highlight a couple of players that are not exactly 100% rostered that I think should be, and that includes Taylor Heineke in Superflex leagues, Kenyon Drake, Deonta Foreman, Latavius Murray, Kyron Williams, Darius Slayton, Terrace Marshall, and Foster Moreau. Again, all guys rostered in over 90% of Dynasty leagues, but not exactly 100%. So double check your waivers and immediately add those guys if they are available. All right, let's get things started because I have 4 players that you need to add from your Dynasty waiver wires this week. So first up, I want to talk about a player that I had to quickly add at the end of last week's video in Sam Ehlinger. And I had to add him just because I literally got the news of Matt Ryan being benched as I was recording. So it wasn't the best analysis. But now we've seen Ehlinger in real action and he looked decent. I mean, which gives me more confidence in him as a spot starter in Superflex needs if you need it. So obviously he needs to be added there because he's starting quarterback for the remainder of the season. Ideally though, you're probably never going to start him. I really hope that you're not starting him, but he could make for a decent trade chip off the waiver wire if you aren't desperate for a starter. So picking up a 3rd round pick or maybe even a 2nd round pick just by using Fab is always going to be a good thing. But if you are in those certain circumstances where you had to play Sam Ehlinger, I think we can at least believe that he is a better play in your Superflex spot than like your wide receiver 4 or 5 or your RB 4 or 5. So there is that too, and he's definitely worth the add for that reason as well. The other quarterback that I want to mention is PJ Walker, who will always have a special place in my heart from his XFL days, but this is now 2 weeks in a row where he's turned in a really solid fantasy day with nearly 18 points this week and over 15 points last week in a blowout win against the Buccaneers. And he has become a quarterback that I would feel moderately confident in as a spot start for my injured or bye week quarterback if I had to. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers also stick with PJ Walker for the remainder of the season instead of going back to Baker Mayfield or back to Sam Darnold even. So there's that upside there too with PJ Walker that you have a starting quarterback for half the season, much like Sam Ehlinger. And in normal Superflex Dynasty leagues, that's very, very valuable. So if you're in a Superflex Dynasty league with, I'd say, anything more than like 22-man rosters and Ehlinger and PJ Walker are still available, I'd be willing to drop probably the rest of my fab on either one of them to secure them for the remainder of the season. All right, the next player to talk about this week is JaMycal Hasty, and I've been saying that Hasty should be added in Dynasty leagues back just even a few weeks ago when he was a team RB3 and a player that could see a value spike if either or both James Robinson and Travis Etienne got injured, very similar to how it worked out for Deion Jackson. And if you picked up JaMycal Hasty on my recommendations back then congratulations. You picked up a player way before he's actually being priced as a good waiver wire add. But if you waited until now and he's still available, the cost might be a little bit more in terms of fab. Hasty right now is the Jaguars RB2 with James Robinson gone. And while that doesn't account for much right now, especially since Travis Etienne is getting 27 touches, which as an Etienne truther, you absolutely love to see it. But should Travis Etienne miss any amount of game with an injury, Hasty would be the next man up with potentially that same opportunity that Travis Etienne is getting. And in a season where we've already gotten big games from backup running backs like Jamal Williams, Tony Pollard, Benjamin, Jeff Wilson, and Deonta Foreman, you can't really afford to miss out on potentially the next one if he's still sitting on the waiver wire. So go out and pick JaMycal Hasty on that just in case Travis Etienne gets hurt. I will also include Snoop Conner here as a speculative add if you have extra roster room. And I got yelled at last week on my James Robinson trade react video for not mentioning Snoop Conner as an ad instead of JaMycal Hasty. Like there was really anything that I wanted to talk about for Snoop Conner because he's been a healthy scratch this entire season and has made literally zero impact on the team. But now Connor finds himself where JaMycal Hasty was just a week ago when I was recommending picking up JaMycal Hasty. So in deep leagues, he's definitely worth a speculative add if Snoop Connor is still out there. And then last on the list this week, we have the new starting running back for the LA Rams, ? And shout out Matthew Berry for the call on this one, actually back on Saturday, as Ronnie Rivers took over as the lead back for the LA Rams. Even though it was an unimpressive 36 yards on 12 total touches, he still took over and was the lead guy over Darrell Henderson. And I have a couple takeaways from this happening though, but neither one of them really ended in me wanting to add Ronnie Rivers from the waiver wire. So the first takeaway is that Kyren Williams is going to be getting a shot at being the guy when he returns. He's been on injured reserve this entire season with an ankle injury, but the team is expecting him to be back soon, eyeing around week 9 or week 10. So it could be this week or next week that Kyren Williams is back. And Darrell Henderson has been really bad all season. Cam Akers is with not the team right now. I'm not really sure. And so to try out something new, Sean McVay decided to give Rivers a shot. And Rivers didn't really look good either. So my assumption is that Kyren Williams will get a chance at the starting role as an effort just to see what they have in him and see if he can rejuvenate a stale backfield. And my second takeaway is maybe we just don't want to ever have to play a Rams running back this season. I mean, already through half the season now, the best performance that we've seen from a Rams running back has been 13.2 PPR points. That was back in week 6 from Darrell Henderson. And they only have 3 other weeks with double-digit points, all under 13.2. That is not good. So the theory here is even if Ronnie Rivers is the guy moving forward, do we really even want him? Or maybe combine that with takeaway number 1. If Kyren does prove to be the guy, then Ronnie Rivers is an afterthought. There are also the reports that Cam Akers will return if he's not traded, which adds another name back into this committee. And this whole situation is just one that I just really don't want to be a part of. So basically, I have all this to say, don't waste your time adding Ronnie Rivers this week. And if you're looking for more moves to make right after week 8, I highly recommend checking out Justin's video right up here.